Hi guys, welcome back. And if you're new, thank you for joining me. Listen, today I want to address some very common knitting mistakes. Let's address the very common knitting mistakes. Sometimes you add too many stitches, sometimes you don't add enough stitches to your work, or you subtract stitches without realizing, and you need to add extra stitches. Listen, knitting is very versatile. If you're a crocheter and you're new to knitting, you're going to be shocked at how easy it is to fix very, very common mistakes like adding an extra stitch or subtracting an extra stitch. Usually with crochet, it's very unforgiving. If you want to knit a square or a rectangle of any size, you have to rip it all back. If you start going sideways, crooked, whatever, you can see those mistakes very easily. And I think it's because if you look at anything that is crochet, it's like a stack of bricks. Everything is laid on top of one another, and if they're crooked, they're crooked. But with knit stitches, it's a lot easier to work with and a lot more versatile, and I don't know, it's just a lot easier to fix and a lot easier to just go with the flow. So let's go with the flow. Let's go with the knitty flow and take a look at the common types of mistakes that most people make. Let's start from the very beginning. In this video, we're going to be using some easy techniques, all beginner things really. We are going to include the use of a crochet hook. You'll see in a moment. So, oftentimes when you're a new knitter, you really get lost as to how much yarn you should use or how much yarn you should allot for a long tail cast on. So the very first thing that I want to review with you is how to count your stitches. Let's say you have 121 stitches to cast on. That's a really an insane amount of stitches. I've had over 220 stitches to cast on. And unless you have an extra ball of yarn and know how to work with two tails at once, it's just really confusing. So I like to count out my stitches this way. Let's just count out 15 stitches. Take your yarn around your knitting needle and leave it very loose all around. So that's 1, 2, well that's 3 actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's just do 12, okay? And leave a long section like that. You could even leave it a little bit longer if you feel comfortable, if you feel like maybe you didn't do it loose enough, okay? And then you just drop these stitches like that. Now we're going to cast on, like, what was that, 12 stitches. So the first thing we're going to do is our slip knot. Okay? The second common mistake that people do is not leave their stitches loose enough. You always want to make sure that your stitches are loose, not ridiculously loose, but loose enough so that when you insert your needle, you don't struggle. So now we're going to do the long tail cast on. And again, don't choke your needle, just keep it loose, okay? And you want to make sure that you keep it loose so that the edge doesn't pucker or tighten too much at the beginning. Because if it does, then you're going to have one small side and one regular side. Typically, knitting does get loose as you get used to it. Your stitch, your gauge, or whatever, it is going to get loose. And it's going to change not only throughout the course of your knitting project, but throughout the years and months ahead, it is going to change quite dramatically. So you want to count out your stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's one too many. All right, now I've got 12 stitches on my needle. Okay, so I knit a few rows off camera, and I also knit a couple of mistakes into them. Now, first of all, you're going to want to get into the habit of counting all your stitches every row that you knit. So in this swatch, I know I purposely dropped a stitch somewhere along the way. I also purposely added a yarn over. So you're going to notice as you're knitting along that something's wrong. Your stitches normally look nice and tight like this. And all of a sudden you see this gap and you're just wondering what happened. Chances are it's an accidental yarn over. So what you're going to do to figure that out, first of all, you're going to see it's a gigantic gap. But if you're not sure, you're going to count your stitches and you're going to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Accidental drop stitch. Let's say that wasn't there. So it would be 5, 6. So, all right. If it's a yarn over, you would have 13 stitches on your needle. If you didn't have that accidental yarn over, that accidental drop stitch over here, you would have a total of 13 stitches on your needle. So you're going to knit that. You see how it's just clear that it's an accidental yarn over? You're going to drop it. Now, what you would do here is you would then just knit everything down the row and everything will be good now. See? The only problem is I left something out. Let's figure that out on the way back. Okay, so we fixed our yarn over. Now we're going to go over here and find that we actually made another mistake, and that was we dropped the stitch way down there. Whoops. So if you find your drop stitch somewhere in your work and you're somewhere way off on another end, don't worry about it. Just stopgap it. Grab the stitch as soon as you see it and put it to the side. Keep on doing what you're doing. Knit right back to that area where that stitch should be, and you will see the drop stitch and the ladders between your stitches that this stitch should be on. Here's where your handy crochet hook comes into play. This is a really easy drop stitch situation to work with. Now, remember I've told you before, when you're in stockinette, this is stockinette, all knit stitches. Everywhere you see the V shape, V shapes all over, that's stockinette stitch, and you are going to knit the knits, right? So if you're knitting the knits, you're going to grab your stitch with the crochet hook, and you're just going to pick up that ladder and pull it through with the crochet hook. Again, pick up that ladder and pull it through. Pick up the next ladder and pull it through. Pick up that ladder and pull it through. Now what you want to do, because you want your stitch to be on this needle facing the correct way, you want to load your needle like so. I don't know why I'm up so high. There we go. And now your stitches are all facing the correct direction, loaded properly. You're supposed to be straddling your knitting needle like this, not like the other way, like this, okay? So that's what they're doing. And now you can just knit that stitch and everything is a-okay. See? Now, let's go back and take a look at this weird thing that happened back here. I don't know what that's about. Huh. But that happens. I mean, weird things happen. We can either ignore it and move on if no one's ever going to see that side, or we can address it. Let's see if I can address it. See if I have what it takes. Because I don't even have a clue how that happened. It must have been something to do with that accidental yarn over, but we fixed it, so I don't get it. All right, so I think what happened is somehow my work is off. So we're gonna do something a little bit crazy. It looks like I missed a ladder, right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to remove these 2 stitches, since it looks like that's where the ladder went wrong. And now we're going to double crochet our ladders. Now, let's put this one off to the side and begin crocheting. Make sure that I don't lose that. That's my working yarn. Get that out of the way. Here's my stitch that I'm trying to keep safe. Now what I want to do, because I'm doing the purl side, I want to go in from the back, right? And I want to take that bar and pull it through. I could turn it over. It'd be a lot easier if I did it from the other side, but I just want to show you guys how you do it on the purl side. On the purl side, I have to make sure that it's facing the correct direction. So I always have to come out of the stitch and go back in through the back and put that ladder over this stitch so that I can create a purl. So see how I did that? I purled that stitch to the back, got out of it, got back in it through the back, and pulled that bar back over my purl and through to create the purl. Now, that's that done. And I put this guy back on my needle. And again, you want them facing the correct direction. So the stitches have to be loaded up just like that. Now we're going to take our little guy that's over here. We're going to go in through the back, through that stitch, put that first ladder over that drop stitch and crochet that through. And again, come out of that stitch, find it. It's normally not that difficult, but these are big, gigantic stitches. So it's just kind of weird. Grabbing everything. I'm coming through the back. And again, grab that ladder and pull it through. And see how I still have my nice little purl stitches? Always have to get out of that purl and go through the back and pull it through again to have that pretty little purl. And now I can load my stitch back on and everything is good. So let's get that back to my other needle. And now we can purl everything all over again. So let's end that row by purling everything. And we can turn it around and see that our work is good to go. All right. That is all the common mistakes that anyone can make. And there are so many more. In another video, not in this one because that could get a little bit more technical, but in another video, we will show you how to fix a garter stitch garment. What if you have a drop stitch? The concept is the same, you guys. You just have to create the purls on the correct side in order for the garment to remain a garter stitch garment. So we will go over that in greater detail in a different video. For now, I will show you some very quick techniques for adding a stitch in case you have somehow subtracted a stitch and you didn't have any of those problems that I just showed you. You don't have a drop stitch, you don't have any, accidental drop stitches or whatever. Or you accidentally took 2 stitches away and you need to add another stitch, so you've got less stitches on your needles than you intend. So in order to give yourself 1 extra stitch, you knit without removing the needle. You take your needle to the back and you knit the back of the stitch. Okay, we're going to do that again. To increase your stitches, you will knit through the front loop. Do not remove your stitch from the needle. Take your needle to the back of the work and knit the back leg, and then remove the stitch. And as you can see, this adds a little purl. That's how you know that you increased your stitches. Okay? So now we have more stitches than we know what to do with. And to deal with that, we're going to subtract some stitches. So we do that by knitting 2 together. So take both these stitches and you knit them both together and take them off the needle. Take 2 stitches, take them off the needle, and keep going. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We still have 6 stitches here, and there's no gigantic shift. I mean, it probably looks a little funky because there's a decrease right here, but at the end of the day, sorry for the noise on the wood, but you guys, at the end of the day, as you're going through and you're learning, you're gonna make these mistakes all the time. And the last thing that I want you to worry about is, oh God, someone's gonna see, someone's gonna know. No, these are battle scars. The only one that knows they're there is you or a really nosy knitter. Okay, my point is I just don't want you stressing out and worrying about things that really they're just design details, okay? So sure, you're gonna notice there's some decreases in there when you're a better knitter than I am, because I can barely tell they're there. And there's some accidental, extra stitches there. You can really barely tell that they are there. I'm gonna leave that there. Adding and subtracting stitches is really easy. Adding accidental yarn overs is also very easy to do. Those are very simple things that any beginner knitter is going to be likely doing throughout their entire knitting journey, actually. It happens to the best of us. It happens to every single one of us. Eventually, through years of experience sometimes, through years of experience, you learn to just let it go. Let it go. I want you to just know from the get-go that you could just let it go. Very few people rip back their work years into their knitting experience. And that is because you begin to realize how truly pointless that is. So what I'm telling you with this video is you're going to knit, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to know what to do to fix them or refer back to this video to figure out how to fix them. And you're going to move on. It's not a big deal to make a mistake in your knitting, and you can just fix it and move on. You don't necessarily have to frog everything back. Frog means rip it back to go back to before you made a mistake, although you can, and there's nothing wrong with that, and you should learn how to do that as well. Ripping back is very simple. You literally take your work and rip it back, and then you pick up your stitches. And we will talk about that in a different video. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I hope that it was helpful for you. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, anything at all that you might like to see in a future video, please feel free to let me know. I'm happy to discuss any type of content that you might like to see. And also you can reach me on Instagram at MyMichelleKnits. You can DM me there or contact me there in any which way. I am always very active there and love to hear from every single one of you. Please do tag me whenever you make something, because I am absolutely thrilled to see what you're making. I know I haven't gone anything like huge so far because we're just at the beginning stage, but I've already seen my cousin, for example, knit her first little headband, and I was absolutely thrilled to see that. I've seen another cousin that decided to go on this little knitting journey, and I'm just absolutely thrilled. And there are some other people that are also jumping on the bandwagon, people that were crocheting that now want to learn how to knit. I mean, I'm absolutely thrilled. So if you have any questions or you need any help, please feel free to let me know. I'm always going to do everything that I can. I'm not the best or brightest at anything at all, but I am absolutely willing to help if you need help. You can find me on Instagram at MyMichelleKnits. You can also find MaximumYarnage pretty much all over the social media. And if you need anything, feel free to let me know. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next knitting video. See you next time. Bye. Yes? Yes. I'm so sorry. Okay. I shouldn't have said Hit the button. Bye.